Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast.
Hi, my name is Steve Lacy.
Hi, my name is Mike Gray.
And I'm Phil Thompson. It's good to be with you today. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with us. We are a company that works with churches and ministries for the most part, and we do streaming video, we do mobile apps, we do other stuff as well. And during this COVID-19, we've tried for the most part to do these podcasts, both the video as well as the audio here. We've tried to make it where it's a little more, give you some useful information to encourage you during this pandemic. And as we're recording this, more and more states are opening up, and there are churches beginning to open up, and some churches are not opening up, and some are opening up with limited capacity, trying to do the good old social distancing thing. And that's a challenge for many churches. Like Steve and Mike, your church, you guys aren't open yet, right?
No, we're still going to be online. We don't have a date yet for being back open.
As they like to really announce, is we never closed. We are open. We're just not meeting.
Okay.
So
well, that's a good way to put it.
They're calling it re-entry. So when people re-enter, but they said, it's been open. We're there every day.
All right.
You can drop by.
Fair enough. Reopen. Yeah. All right. So
re-entry.
So, so anyhow, even if you are re-entering your church or whatever you're doing, you're letting people back in on Sundays or other days of the week, there are still people that are not going to come. I mean, Steve and I were talking to one person yesterday who they're going to reopen, but they know that half the people aren't going to be there, I think. Wasn't that what he said? Ricky, I think, is who we were talking to. And so what we want to talk about today is really hopefully give you some ideas, and maybe you can come up with some creative ideas as a leader listening to this podcast. You know, creative ways that you can continue to help people stay connected and get reconnected online. And so we're not talking about social media today. We talked about that before. We're not talking about just streaming video, although that's one way, but we're talking about more of an interactive feature, so you can do live interactive. So there are some, we'll briefly mention there are some tools that you can use to have some one-on-one stuff. In fact, right now, Mike and Steve and I are using Zoom. So Zoom is a tool that you could use. We have done Skype in the past, but we've been doing Zoom the last several weeks or so. So what's another tool, guys, that people could use to do some, you know, very interactive live video, or even if they didn't want to do live video, they could talk with audio?
So Google Meet's another popular one, free.
Google Meets. So Google Meets.
Google Meet, I think it's.
Google Meet, is that what it's called?
Yeah, they renamed
it. Google Meets is the guy down the road. He sells some for something.
Sell cold cuts and other prime cuts of meat.
Yeah. They've had naming challenges. It was Google Hangouts, and now it's Google Meet.
Okay, so and by the way, Steve, not to get off track here during the podcast, but we will. Mike and I were thinking that instead of using join.me, we could use Google Meet. Is that what it was, Mike? To actually?
Yeah, we tested it yesterday. It's simple. The controls are just a couple buttons, so there's not a lot to get confused by. Yeah. And as you launch it, immediately your guests can screen share. So it's great for teaching and technical, as well as just meeting face-to-face and catching up.
The only caveat here, though, right, Michael, is that to make it easier on everybody, they have to have a Chrome. They got to be using Chrome browser, right?
That is correct. For Google Meet, you will need a Chrome browser.
And the other minor challenge is the URL to the meeting. Right. You have to give a specific URL to the meeting. I mean, you can get that through chat or send them an email or something like that.
Yeah, we go well, and that's the same way with Zoom, right? I mean, we're using Zoom. You have to have send somebody an invite. And the downside to Zoom, it would be that you have to download Zoom on your machine. Where with Google, you wouldn't have to do that with Google Meet.
Right, exactly. The advantage with our Join Me is we have a reserved URL. So
we do.
Tell them over the phone, and they get there. So anyway, we're pros and cons of different conference tools. So
which we're not really going to talk about today, but I did want to throw some things out there because I mean, people go, "Well, how do I do this stuff?" And so,
did we mention Skype?
Oh,
So
and we didn't mention Skype.
Casually,
Skype. Yeah.
But
Okay.
Skype is an option.
And then Facebook meeting rooms. Now you can create rooms and invite people to them in a larger group chat environment, which is something that rolled out in the last couple of weeks. So there's a lot of free options for ways to get together and meet.
Okay. Are you on Ethernet, Michael? Or are you
yes,
on
I
Wi-Fi?
am.
Okay, just want to make sure. All right.
Am I buffering?
You had a little there, but that's okay. All right. So anyhow, they're active tools, guys, and probably a lot of you know this. So let's talk a little bit about what we can do. So what can we do to help people stay more connected that aren't coming to the church or not coming as much? So there's a few things I've got listed here, and we'll let the guys jump in here. But the first one I put down, and we'll do the spiritual stuff first, and we'll do some of the fun stuff at the end. How's that sound? Well,
yeah,
both can be fun, I guess, right? But
yeah, you can mix it up.
Yeah. All right. So number one I have down is you could do some weekly devotional stuff, and you could do it with this input. So, I mean, usually when you think of weekly devotional, you think of, okay, somebody's sending me something, or they're sending me a podcast, or they're sending me something, and it's a one-way deal. But what I'm just suggesting here is, you could do something that's more interactive using Zoom or something like that, and do a weekly devotion and allow input from the people that are with you. So, you could bring up something, talk about it, talk for a couple minutes, and then get people's feedback, get their input, get their thoughts on something.
Yeah. Have y'all done the devotions through the YouVersion app? Have you done it in a group? I've never done it. Where you do it in a group. So I guess the group is everyone's on the same day on the same devotion.
Yeah.
Is that how it works? Is there communications back and forth between the people, or are they just kind of talking offline together about that day's devotion?
It's just through text, isn't it? Just through text. I mean, you're talking YouVersion.
Yeah, I do the devotions every day, but I've never done it in a group.
Yeah. So there's also messaging interactivity that you can have within the YouVersion platform. So Cindy, my wife, has an ongoing one that's like 1.5 years old, and so whenever they finish one, they'll start another one. And she really loves it because they stay engaged with each other as well as with Scripture then a lot more consistently.
How big a group?
I think 10, if I'm not mistaken, 8 to 10.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's good. Yeah, and of course that's not video, but still it's something. They're going back and forth through what, chat? Is that what they're doing? Text?
They do use text, but they're largely communicating through the YouVersion platform. You can chat and message and engage there.
Okay, great. All right, good. That sounds good. All right. Second thing is very common. The second point, and this is not real creative, but you can think a little more about it. Second point is you could do Bible studies online. You could Bible study courses, I should say. Again, we're trying to encourage people to stay connected with each other if they're not meeting Sunday mornings together on ground. Bible study courses, you could do something. Senior pastor, associate pastor, one of your key leaders could lead a Bible study course, schedule that for maybe 6 weeks or 4 weeks, maybe at a time, certain time, certain day. And again, allowing people to be like we're doing here today. People might be listening to this on audio, but we're doing this also on video, so people could go back and forth, and they could correspond with each other, and have a room full of people, so to speak, online. Love the input I'm getting here.
Well, I was just about to jump in, but I was leaning into a direction of it definitely. It definitely removes the barriers of distance. So it doesn't have to, everybody in your group that's doing a Bible study doesn't have to live in your town.
That's very good.
These
point.
tools, it can be people all over the world, as they may not want to get up at 3 a.m. to do a Bible study with you if they're on the other side of the world, but it does remove some barriers for proximity.
Well, it certainly does. And with Tucson here in Tucson, Arizona, we're spread out. And we have people go to my church that live way on the east side, And, people like me live way on the Northwest side, and it's a long drive, and I don't know why these people come, but they do. But it's a long drive. It's like,
I don't know why they're coming.
Why are they coming to my church? But what your point is well taken, Mike, and that is, it breaks down these barriers, obstacles, so to speak, of distance. Yeah.
In my life group, I have 2 sets of snowbirds, and so they're gone back to Michigan and Washington State for the summer. And so they'll engage with our online studies and church online while they're in their summer states before they come back for next winter.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. All right. So third point, this gets into maybe a little more casual. Have a time of fellowship, a fellowship hour, as you put it earlier today, Mike, a fellowship hour. So what we mean by that is, well, you take a stab at it. It could be anything. I mean, it could be a time to eating together. It could do a potluck together online.
Well, get your beverage and your snacks, and you can have a potluck together just over video.
Yeah. I mean, I can't indulge in any of your potato chips, but I can watch you eat them.
I would offer them.
Yeah.
I would offer them but yeah. So just make it fun and relaxing. My group finished our semester last week, and we did exactly that. We just got together, we caught up, we chatted, we told stories, everybody had some foods and some snacks, and we just hung out as if we were in the house together, but online and separated.
Yeah.
What's nice for us is we we'll get on the same laptop, so we're not causing interference and all that trouble. And we do all of our events laying on our bed. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds kind of personal. Yeah. I'm not sure I want to hear the rest of your story, buddy.
Well, we're on camera. We are on the bed.
All right. Okay.
That makes it worse.
Still not getting better. Not getting better.
Remember, Mike brought this up, not me. But that does bring up a good point. Okay. You could do, and this isn't in my outline. It just came to me just like that. My mind's just so
magical.
Like this.
Magical.
You could do an exercise routine with people in your church. So like my church, they haven't done it for a couple of years, but they used to have an exercise class, and they would get together Monday nights and get in the facility, and they would all do, jumping jacks and exercises together. Well, as you may have seen online, there are people doing that. Well, do it for your church. And do it with Zoom or do it with Skype. So a fitness routine, call it a fitness hour, make it every Wednesday evening or something,
a whole hour. Come on, don't be crazy.
Well, let's not go too wild here. But
there's big businesses that have launched based on that same principle, though. What's the Peloton bike? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Peloton.
And it's all about working out with other people from all over the place on other Peloton bikes. So
wasn't there some controversy a couple months ago? Somebody had a gal working out on a bike, and she was as skinny as a rail. She was trying to lose more weight or something. There was some controversy over that whole commercial, and they turned it into they did their best to turn it into a promotional thing. But anyhow, so exercise time. A lot of people are doing yoga. You could do a yoga time together. Again, using something that's interactive like Zoom or Google or Skype or one of those things. So another thing you could be doing, and again, these things help connect people who haven't seen each other, or even if you are starting to meet again, may not want to come. Moving right along, you could have specific topics for discussions. So it doesn't have to be religious topics, doesn't have to be Christian topics. Of course, you got to be careful when you get into this, because some of those topics can be they can lead to passionate discussions.
Very much so, yes.
So
I had one of those potentially passionate discussions with one of our ministry leaders this morning.
Oh, really?
So, I was like, why are we talking about this? So getting off into political stuff.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Was that from your church or from?
No.
Oh, somebody else.
It was
we won't get into it.
Just one of the ministries is saying, wow, because one thing led to another. we were talking about, oh yeah, you can do this and you can do that. He goes, oh yeah, the president's doing that. And we're like, yeah, he is. And one thing led to another. So anyway.
All right, good. So, again, have a specific topic to go through. Again, ways to connect people. Let's move on here because that went over like a dud. How about prayer times? Again, schedule a time for prayer where, we have prayer meetings at our churches, right? So have a prayer time using Skype or Zoom and schedule a specific time once a week and, spend maybe a short period of time praying for needs. Maybe you can even use email to your members and say, hey, if you have a prayer request, we are going to be meeting and praying online for you. If you want to share, please do. If you don't, that's okay. Or invite people to participate.
Yeah. I think makes me think of another one that I watch a particular variety show that has, you think of Johnny Carson and Ed McMahon and
right.
Who's the band guy? What's his name? From the 60s.
Well, yeah, you're really old. I can't
remember. I am old,
his name
man.
now.
I don't remember that far back.
Yeah. Anyway, they have the live band, like
right. Well,
current day people do it as well.
right.
Jimmy Kimmel and they have the current band. Anyway, during this COVID thing, they were taking all the band members and were playing all their instruments from home.
That's
and
right.
I don't know how they mixed it and how they did it, but and then they broadcast it. So I'm thinking, your worship team, you want to have a prayer night, you can have a worship night and have your, everyone that participates in your normal worship band play their part from home. And
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Joshua Butcher did that recently. They did a cover song and it was good. He has a band called the Muffalatos, I think is what they're called. They've been doing it for years. He's in several bands and I really enjoyed it.
And had the different members were remote?
They had everybody. They had everybody in different places and it's quite a large band. I mean,
I don't know how they pull it off.
Well,
how do you keep people on?
How do you keep things from being out of sync? I don't know that, but I was going to ask him about that. I just never did. But I mean, they have horns, they had drums, they had guitars, they had singers. I mean, it was like professional. I mean, it's like what you see on national TV. When somebody's doing something, it was well done too. I love the song they did. I love the way they did it. I liked it. It's a different version of it, but I liked it. And I need to ask him about that. But that's a great idea, Steve. I mean, get everybody together and if you can figure out how to mix it, you got something there that might really go away.
Those musicians, they know, because the show I watch, it's mixed perfectly, or they all have earpieces to hear each other or something, just like they do on stage.
If you go to Josh's page, his Facebook page, you'll see it on there. It's a couple of weeks ago, but it's been on there. There was anyhow. All right, good deal. So we're moving along here. Prayer time. So we're talking about weekly devotions with input from others, some Bible study courses you could do, fellowship hours, exercise things, music stuff, topical discussions, small groups, which is very common. You guys have done online small groups. We did it years ago when I was with you guys a long time ago. But, again, if your church isn't doing something like that, a small group would be good. Some people call them cell groups, small groups, life groups, whatever you want to call them. A good opportunity to do that as well. And here's one that we were talking about earlier this morning when I was bouncing this topic off of guys. And you should have seen this, folks. You should have seen their expressions when I was talking about this. They all just
so excited. We were just ecstatic, beside ourselves. So excited.
It's like, what? You want to do what? But somebody brought up the idea. I think it was Steve or somebody brought up the idea of game night. You could do a version of some kind of game night online as you interact. Now, don't ask me what kind of game, because I don't know.
Well, I thought of at least one that would work. And you thought of, if you add our special smart speaker device to one person, then that smart speaker can lead games that are done that way as well.
Yeah.
My early years, my wife and I were youth leaders. And so we got indoctrinated to lifelong group games that we played with the youth group that we play with our family now, every time everybody gets together. And there is one of them that would apply online. There's several of them that require people to be able to see each other and props and different things. But you familiar with the game Contact?
I've heard of it.
Used to play definitely do Contact online.
How do you do Contact? I did Contact in football, but that's probably different. So without prolonging this, Contact, what's the short version of it? What is it?
It's
How do you play it?
It's somewhat of a word game. I'm not going to go through all the rules here, but it's a fun game. It's I guess fairly popular. One of our kids introduced us to the rest of the family. We spent summer vacations with big groups of family. So it's basically it's a word guessing game that a large group can play, and you aren't having to take turns or anything like that. So everyone can just kind of join in.
Wow. Okay, cool. The thing that I was mentioning earlier was like if you have something like Alexa or Google, what is it? Google Home, is that what it's called? I have it here, but I don't know what it's called. But it's the box, the round Canon circular thing. You could ask it to play games. You can ask it for a game, and if you want to have it by a microphone or something, you could play Jeopardy. Right? You could do Jeopardy or something like that with it, and you could do it online. So the big idea here, again, is connecting people. So game night online, make it schedule it once a week, do it for a month or so. And again, it keeps people connected, and you could have some fun with game night. I don't know, come up with games. I'd love to hear some ideas from people. Send us an email, support@streamingchurch.tv with the games you might play online. We'd love to hear from you. All right. Go ahead.
I was going to announce the last one on your list there.
Yes, please do.
A pastor's AMA.
That's right. Ask the pastors. So, look, some guys might not be up to this, or some people might not be up to it as pastors, but we've done this before, and it's kind of fun, and it doesn't have to be real serious questions, but you can ask, there could be some questions off limits, I don't know, but ask the pastor or ask the pastors, or, have a night where you get one of the people that's on staff, or maybe one of your leadership team people, or one of your board people, I don't know, whatever you want to call it at your church, and have them be a part of things and give people an opportunity to get them know them better, and maybe ask them some questions, about their life and, their history and where they're going, where they've been with, how did they come to God? Where are they going? Where do they see themselves, in 5 years, hopefully not another pandemic, but whatever, something along those lines. And it can be a time to connect better with your leadership team and the people that are your members. Ask the pastors, ask them any questions or
anything. I think a funner game would be roast the pastors.
Well,
I don't know if you get many people signing up for that one.
See, I don't know. I mean, we could certainly do that with Jeff Love, but not everybody has that kind of sense of humor. So,
yes.
but you could certainly have some fun with each other and do some things where people could connect better. So.
Hey, Phil, I did think of a couple more if you're interested.
Yes, please do. Please, I would love some input.
One is a little bit of a plug for streamingchurch.tv, and that is, if you have a recording of your service, rebroadcast your services during the weekdays. A lot of churches has shifted, and now they offer a service every day for people who maybe are working on the weekend.
Okay.
Because they already have the content to create that service with the simulated live tool. Now I can have a service every day, 2 times a day, whatever that may be, to be able to catch more people when they're available to experience a live service.
Yeah.
And then I didn't want to leave out the possibility of, I know some churches are calling all the members, but you could also use these online tools for a one-on-one video counseling and one-on-one prayer time with somebody in need. So you could cold call your membership, and especially maybe start with those that are at high risk that haven't been out of the house much.
Yes. And
reach out to them and do a Skype or do a Zoom or whatever tool to say, hey, we're here for you, and we want to stay connected to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are good points. Let's not forget about individuals, one-on-one. I think that's good stuff. We've been talking about group stuff here, but yeah, absolutely. You can use these tools. We're in a difficult time right now, but the bottom line is we've got tools, we've got the technology to help us at least go through this, and in some ways maybe connect with people like we never connected with them before. And appreciate each other a little bit more, because sometimes you get Sunday mornings or Saturday nights, whenever you're having services, it gets busy, and we take each other for granted sometimes. And this is a great opportunity to not do that, to actually appreciate each other, and maybe even get to know each other a little bit better, maybe during this time. So, all right. Well, we're out of time here. So this thing kind of started off slow, but I think it ended pretty well.
Yeah.
Nice job, guys. Appreciate that. All right. So he is Michael Gray. The other guy there is Steve Lacy. And I'm Phil Thompson. We'd love to get your input on this. So send us an email, support@streamingchurch.tv. That's really who we are. We're a company that does streaming video and other things. And so we'd love to hear from you. And we appreciate your time today. If we can help you in any way, that's what we're here for. That's what we like to do. We love to help churches and ministries and faith-based organizations use technology. All right, guys. Again, thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right.
Quite welcome.
And thank you, folks, for listening to another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. My name is Phil Thompson. Please take care of yourself, and we'll see you again next time. Take care.